Hello lovely Simmers, SimsEclaire here and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are doing another house. I promise there are non-house builds coming up. I actually have a restaurant that I'm working on, but this one is a large house. I called it the Dresden Chateau. Probably a more accurate name would have been a mansion or a mega mansion because this thing is humongous. If you saw my teaser pictures on Twitter, then you know the general size of the house. It didn't have all the details and it didn't actually have all of the extensions that I ended up adding, but you got a general idea of how large this house is. The home ends up being 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. Yeah, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. There's a media room, there's a game room, there's like, it's ridiculous. There's a butler's room, so technically the 6th bedroom does not, or there's technically 6 bedrooms because I forgot about the butler's room. So there's technically 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms because the butler has their own ensuite, but I don't know. You guys, I've never played with butlers in The Sims, so I'm not 100% sure if butlers count against your household numbers. If they do, then you have to only have one parent sim. If they don't, then you should be fine. But because I built this to have a full 6-member family household, 2 parents and 4 kids, and then I added the butler's room because I had the space, and I totally forgot that they could maybe count against your household, but I'm not 100% sure because I've never played with them. So if they do, then you have to either get rid of one of the kids' rooms and turn it into something else, or only have one parent, but that's okay. I'm not 100% sure who would actually be playing in this house anyway. It is way too big. I think you would lose your Sims, honestly. I know I was. This is technically built on the lot where the Fire family house is. And in order to take the screenshots, I had to fast forward a couple of days until it was no longer winter. I wanted it to be spring, so I wanted it to stop snowing. So I played through their family a little bit, and I kept losing them. And I haven't actually finished furnishing this house at the point of which I'm doing this voiceover. Unfortunately, it's taking me way longer than anticipated to furnish the house, but I have done a good half of it. I've done the whole downstairs except for the parents' bedroom. So I had them living in this house that is not completely furnished, only had 1 bed, so they've been living the struggle life for a little bit. But anyway, back to the part of the build that we are on right now. So this half of the video is only going to be the exterior, and as you can see, the shape of the house is rather interesting. I don't know. I really liked how this house turned out. It wasn't necessarily like traditional American, I want to say, because traditional American mansions do not have all of these like special roof pieces and everything like that. I want to say, at least in what I've seen in movies and stuff, it looks a little bit more European, and I really liked that style. That's why I chose to go with the Discover University brick, because even though there is some argument on whether that was supposed to be in Europe or not, I definitely, at least it's in an Americanized Europe, let's go with that. And I really liked how the stone looked, and it kind of was giving me, European vibe, so I went ahead and went with it. And then at the front here, we have this little front porch area that has this non-usable balcony. That's where the front door is going to go, right underneath that balcony. I end up adding these really large decorative pillars and some big bay windows at the front, right above that balcony. It's not, technically it would be functional if you put doors there. I did not put doors there because I had 2 other balconies, and I didn't like how any of the doors I was picking looked on that balcony, so I decided just to leave it. And then we're finishing up with the wall prints and the roofing right now. Initially, I went with white trimmed roofing to match the white trim that I'm about to put on the foundation. I do end up changing it though to more of like a muted brown, because I end up kind of shrinking all of the roofs so I can add some wall trims and wall freezes, because I thought that would look a little bit better on a house this size. So I do end up kind of changing the roof trims so that way they blend into the roof a little bit more, so you can tell the difference between the roof and the wall trim or the wall freeze. And then up here, we're doing our little front garden area. So I use a marble walkway from the driveway to the stairs. I haven't placed the stairs yet, but that's where they're going to go. And then I'm doing my terrain paint. Now, my game is having a glitch where my terrain paint is disappearing. You won't really notice it in this video because I did all of the building and the landscaping in one go. However, at the beginning of the second part, when we start furnishing the outside, you'll see I have to place my terrain paint again because all of my terrain paint disappeared. I don't know why that's happening. I know it's been a glitch for a while. I never really had an issue with it though. I had an issue with it for one build and one build only, but now it's coming back. So I don't know if it's the lot that I built this on or maybe if it's Windenburg in general. But right now you can see I'm adding some detail work to the house. I do skip over some of this just because, as you can see, it was a little tedious having to stack all of those little wall pieces, and I do end up doing those to wherever the stone from Discovery University matched up with the plain walls. So anywhere where there was a corner with that stone, you can see it in the left-hand corner of your screen, or if that stone met up with one of the plain walls, I went ahead and added that as kind of like a breaker to kind of divide that stone wall from the plain walls. And so it kind of took me a while to get all of the different nooks and crannies of the house. And then back here is the pool, and I was trying to do something cool. I wanted to do kind of like a hot tub attached to the pool, but you can't. I have to work with it. I've seen people use these platforms to do that, but whenever I try to build a pool on a platform, it tells me it can't do it, and then you can't connect platforms of different foundation heights, which I think is kind of stupid, because the whole point of platforms was so we could do split leveling. So I feel like it would make more sense if you could place a platform that isn't on a foundation next to something on a foundation. But that's just my little bit of feedback with that one. But I'm going to try and get the pool to work. If not, it'll end up just being that one raised up section separated off from the pool, which doesn't look bad. And after I do some decorating, I'm sure I'll be able to make it look a little bit more cohesive. I was just really hoping for this kind of like waterfall effect where you could walk out of the hot tub into the pool, or, you know, vice versa. And then right there, you saw I was adding all of the wall-less rooms to the roof. That's why it's kind of a little complicated to add wall trims and friezes to houses like this, because in order to get the wall trims on that upper level, you have to add wall-less rooms because they technically sit on the floor of rooms. So they sit in between levels. So if I had placed it without doing those wall-less rooms on the roof, it would place it in the middle of the build in between the first and second level. So you have to add a third level, like an invisible third level, by doing wall-less rooms to get it to sit right below your roof. And it just kind of takes a while. I deleted the main part of the house, but I left in this part so you guys could kind of see what I was doing, because I did add it all around the entirety of the exterior of the house. So I ended up having to do it on these little side extensions as well. And speaking of these side extensions, I am kicking myself for adding these side extensions. When we get to the final pictures of the build, like the ones that you guys are going to see at the end and the ones that you saw at the beginning, actually, you can kind of tell that, especially this one off to the left, that little side extension, it's only one story now because I could not think of something to decorate it with. Like that second story, I kept staring at it and staring at it and staring at it, and I was like, I don't have anything to put in this room, because I had, like I said, I had technically 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, media room, game room. I had what I'm calling a student's retreat for the 2 older kids, so they have like their own little study nook. I have a playroom for the 2 younger kids. I have a library, a whole library that's going into this build. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I have nothing to go in this room. Like, there is nothing left. So I just decided to delete it, and I reworked the exterior of the house to make it fit. So the house does end up looking a little smaller, but not really. I mean, I don't think anyone could tell me this house is small. But I really like building houses like this. I don't know, it kind of tests your creativity and stuff, because you have to find ways to make the exterior look interesting and ways to decorate the interior. And I am going to let you guys know, part of the decorating the interior, I did end up using some gallery artwork. When I post the interior of the house, I will put the names of the people who created the artwork in the description box. But I really wanted the inside to kind of be like, if you guys have ever seen the show Behind the Gates, a lot of homes in that show have these art pieces that almost look like they belong in museums. Like, they're classic art pieces. They're nicely framed, nicely decorated, and they're paintings. And we don't really have a lot of that specific type of artwork in the game, so I went ahead and found some on the gallery that kind of matched what I was looking for. And the 3 pieces that I use in the parlor area are these like gigantic peacock pictures. And I think it's a little obnoxious, but I think that it works for the story that I have, which you'll hear the story when we get to the interior of the house, because it kind of plays more once we get into the interior. But I was also getting huge Pride and Prejudice vibes from this house. Not necessarily Pemberley, because Pemberley is very more colonial style, but Netherfield, I definitely was getting like Netherfield vibes from this house, or maybe even like a mix of Netherfield and the Bennett home, because the Bennett home isn't this big, but it definitely has a lot of these architectural features. So I don't know. I was also watching Pride and Prejudice while I was building this house, so that could be why I came up with something so similar to that movie. But anyway, now we're going on to the landscaping, and for once you guys finally get to see the entirety of my landscaping. I don't think I cut out any of it, because since I split this video into 2 parts, each part is going to be about 20 minutes. This one ends up being, I think it's like 18.5 minutes. And the interior one I'm going with will probably be a little over 20, just by how long it's been taking me to decorate it to begin with. I will be cutting some of that out though, because a lot of it I'm like moving my camera around, because there's a lot of walls in this house, so there's a lot of my camera moving around and not making a whole lot of sense. But yeah, so each video is going to be about 20 minutes long, so I decided I could go ahead and leave in all of the landscaping, because I know some of you have been asking me about that. I usually use debug plants unless I'm feeling really lazy and I don't feel like searching through the debug menu for these plants. And I also always almost use the same exact ones, because I think they just look the best. Now, unfortunately, in the screenshots, even though it is spring, it is just the start of spring, so all of the flowers aren't necessarily showing up, but you can still kind of tell. And some of them are evergreen trees, so those stayed nice and bright for you guys. But I've been trying to get my game out of winter for forever, but I'm building this in another save, so I didn't want to skip ahead too much without playing the family that this save is in, because I didn't want it to mess with like the timeline. And it's just my sim, like it's literally just my sim, but she has like a job and everything, and I didn't want to mess with it too much. So I try not to fast forward, but I was sick and tired of building in build mode where everything is all nice and bright, and then going in to take the screenshots and everything being covered in snow. So I finally got us into spring. It just wasn't necessarily late enough in spring to get all the flowers and stuff into the screenshots, but that's okay. Maybe if when I finish the interior, if we skip ahead a couple of days again and we have the exterior flowers, I will add some extra bonus exterior pictures into my screenshots. I think it's like last minute and a half of this build is screenshots. I just could not stop taking pictures of this house because I really liked how it looked, and every time I would change the camera angle, it was like a new view, and you could see something new, like a new window or a new frieze or a new column or something. So I do apologize for the amount of screenshots at the end of this video, but just bear with me. I was really happy with how this house turned out. I don't do a lot of large houses. I usually stick to more traditional like suburban houses, but like I said, I was watching Pride and Prejudice, and yeah. And also, sorry about my camera right there. So it jumped back to my home screen because the camera was acting weird, and a part of me thought that I hadn't actually remembered to turn on the recording, so I got really nervous. So I clicked out of the game real quick, went under my camera recording, made sure it was still recording, and then popped right back in. And then here is the fountain area. So I needed something to put in between this driveway, and I was like, what better to put on a house this large than an obnoxious fountain? So I went ahead and did like this little garden area and this large fountain. I think it's from Get Together. I don't think it's the one from Get Famous, because the one from Get Famous I think I tried to place, but it just looked too big. So I decided to not do that one. And then I'm adding a couple finishing touches to the roof, changing around some windows. We still have like 4 minutes left in this build to go, but that's because we haven't done any of the back yet, if I do believe. I don't think I've added any of the staircases to the back area, because I think the back of this house is I almost like it as much as the front of the house, and that doesn't usually happen with me. I usually definitely prefer front of houses to backs of houses, but I really liked what I did with the stairs here on the left, where I had like the upper balcony that had these grand staircases that went down to the lower balcony, and then there's also like the little pool section off to the side. I thought they probably added that one later as like a new extension, particularly for the family I have in mind to go into this house now. I definitely thought that they probably added that for, you know, their kids and for their parties and their entertaining. And yeah, and I just really like, because it kind of flows together really well, and I end up adding more garden space around the edge of this lower balcony where I just placed the fence. You can see me doing the terrain paint for it there. I initially was going to add more stairs and then do kind of like a lower level, like sit down garden, you know, a swing set, like stuff like that, and have the grass area be like a entertaining or play area for the kids. But I decided against it. A, I wasn't sure that my brain could handle any more landscaping, and B, I wasn't sure. This lot's already super big, and the more stuff you place on a lot, the more laggy the lot gets. So I didn't want it to be too bad in terms of gameplay. I was already noticing some of it with just how little I furnished the house. I was noticing some of the lag when I was in with the Fire family. So I was trying not to do too much. And I also, like I said, I got quite lazy. So I wasn't about to start adding a whole extra balcony that I was going to have to figure out how to decorate, because I'm already not sure how I'm going to decorate the 4, I think is what we're at now, the 4 balconies I have over here. But besides that, that is it for this video, so I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to stay tuned for part 2 coming on Monday, and also be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next time. Bye!